Hello everyone and welcome to week 3. I have some quick announcements to go over at the opening class and then for this overview for the week 3, and then some items to touch on concerning this upcoming week with both the drafting of the memoir and then working through the discussion board posting on here. So in the course schedule, tentative plan of work, your video will be posting at 6 p.m. on Monday. The week 1 and week 2 overviews are now moved down to their corresponding weeks, that you have those videos still there. Attempt to keep those on there and active throughout the term in case there's any review things you need to do. We are now in the 3rd week here, so the readings that are listed for writing today are posted up here for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th edition. I'm keeping the 2nd edition on right now. I had a couple of students who were late to the table on getting books, as far as I could tell. Folks, that is one of the announcements I want to cover in a moment here, but the main thing will be that just noting the textbook information, particularly sending out content, things about the textbooks and what we'll be working on for the term prior to the semester. The attempt was to always have that information out to students weeks prior to the semester beginning so that there was no confusion about what was due or what was the book for the course. I have a couple of students who waited a little longer and trying to get books later, but also not fully understanding what they were going through and looking for. Just note on those. Please make sure you've read the entirety of those instructions about the textbook. I don't think I have many students in this category. I had of the students for the course right now, I had only 2 of them who seem to have gone down the wrong direction on this so far with the textbook content. So hopefully that's all that we do have, and making sure that you're keeping up with the reading and the other instructional materials. The main thing is that the content out of that book that covers some of the writing dynamics and editing and drafting and revising and those things, I do as much customization as I can on the items that we're working on as assignments, so that you can, for weeks 2 and 3, weeks 1 and 2, most students were able to complete that content by simply going through the drop boxes on there. That's not going to be the case with a lot of the stuff coming up on edits and revisions, and particularly not for the types of assignments that we're going to be doing. There are some things about rhetorical analysis and those. The memoir portion, for those of you who have already commented on reading the chapter, you saw that the opening portion, at the at a glance section of that chapter, it matches exactly what your layout there is essentially, but then there are memoir pieces in there as examples that aren't exactly like the layout that I've given you. I've given you all a simplified layout of this. So I will comment quickly here on the upcoming week. The memoir rough draft due. Everyone has submitted, I should say, out of the entirety of the class, 25 students in each one of my 1510s. I only have 2 or 3 students in each section who have not submitted those assignments. Of the ones that I've seen so far, mostly all of these are going to work for memoir, so I would move on into your drafting stage. I will make comments on the summary outline if the credit is based on whether or not you gave me a full summary, 250 words minimum, and told me what the complication is and those things. And then if you laid out the parameter, the details for the body, the essay itself, the memoir itself, with the intro, bodies, and then conclusion. If those details are all included there, I am not marking down for things like the grammar mechanics and stuff like that, unless it's just entirely egregious where I can't understand what's being said. And remember, you're supposed to write these out in full details with full clauses and things, so I should be able to read them. There shouldn't be any fragmentary details or components. So hopefully that's not something I have to take away too many points on anybody's. Hopefully I'm just focusing on content here. Having said that, I should be able to give everyone feedback on those summary outlines by Thursday, I would say. Thursday Friday at the latest, so that you have some solid feedback on whether or not there's anything that you need to adjust major that's on the memoir before finalizing a draft for Sunday. Just note, if you followed the directions and you went through and reviewed the student example of those and yours meets all those requirements, there should be no real issue there. That's for the draft. Now, the discussion board posting, you'll see that there are discussion boards that are open. This one says copy and paste your rough draft into the discussion board by Sunday. So the same due date and time as the rough draft is due in our Dropbox this upcoming weekend, you also need to copy and paste your draft into the discussion board, starting your own thread. And then by the following Thursday, the Thursday of the week of the final draft, so we'll be doing those final drafts due on the 23rd, then you need to comment on a classmate. So those discussion board posts that opened up here under you have the memoir peer review rough draft available on here. If we click on this, it gives a breakdown of what I want you to do. I want everybody to post theirs up, and then once you have posted your rough draft, go through and read a classmate's and answer these questions. If you understood the assignment, should be no issue answering these. Now, with the general to specific layout of the intro, I don't need a clearly adhered to general to specific where I'm going to mark down whether or not you have that exact framing. It should be that the context is general, more broad when you start the intro, so that your reader understands the category of this topic before getting into it. The objective there is to make it relatable as possible to as many readers as possible with a general statement. That's usually your general, then your lead in, and then your thesis. I will have a little bit more on that over the next week, but the main thing there is to have the basic framing of that general to specific, and the thesis statement be a lead-in that suggests the complication of body one but doesn't give it away. Okay, doesn't state the exact thing. So that's a distinction there that does have a difference. So make sure that you look through the student example again and the parameters that are in the summary outline Dropbox before completing those of your own. I don't want students getting lost in the details of those. In the thesis statement, does it work as an adequate lead-in? Answer these questions for a classmate. The objective here is to be done with those and have them posted by the following Thursday, so that when your classmates and you are working on your final draft, you're going on through your final drafts here, you post your rough draft up, you also put it in the discussion board, you get some feedback from classmates, and if you have them all excuse me, if you complete these discussion board reviews no later than next Thursday, not this upcoming Thursday, so it would be for your class section, it would be specifically Thursday the 20th. Make sure that your review of a classmate is completed by Thursday, October 20th, so that they have some classmate review before they go into a final draft for the following Sunday at the final draft submission. Those will be the only item that's due in week 4. I will also go through and do what I can to review drafts on those, but at the same time, students are usually working their way towards a final draft. Also, remember, now that we're in a drafting stage, everyone should start considering that academic support center for additional tutoring. Everyone needs to go through one that's required for the term, but I also offer extra credit for that session along with any additional ones that you do attend. I have gotten through the majority of week 1 and parts of last week with the grading of the things that were submitted for students in this class so far. Those were the FERPA form, the academic honesty form, then diagnostics. I'm going through summary and outlines now. The FERPA forms and academic honesty forms, I had 90-some% of students submit those all filled out with your signatures and on time. The diagnostic essays from week 1, pretty much the same number, right in the low to mid 90% of the student body of the classes all submitted theirs and on time. And then with the summary outline, slightly below that, I did have one class where I only had 18 out of 25 students submit, but other classes were 22 and 23 out of 25. So those were higher numbers for those ones. But so make sure that you guys are getting submissions in. I don't know what's going on with a couple of students where you're just not even engaging with the course, but there is not late work allowed, and you're responsible for remembering this is a 12-week class that you have to stay up on the submission timelines and everything else. So for today, this week, as I said, we're moving now into rough drafting. So the Dropbox for this week is the rough draft memoir itself. And the basic parameters are pretty simple. It's a rough draft of 600 words minimum, not including the student and course title info. That's things at the top. So your final draft will be 750 to 1,000. So 600 words, you're thinking at roughly a 2.5 to 3 page memoir for the drafting stage. That should be for full credit. That would be your intro, all 3 bodies, and conclusion. Remember, your intro goes general to specific, has a lead-in thesis. Your body, paragraph 1, tells the story and ends in a complication. Body 2 advances. That's where you give your internal dialogue, your thoughts, your reactions, those kinds of things. And then body 3 solves or resolves the complication itself. And then the conclusion tells the moral of the story, wrapping up with those ideas for your reader. This, as I said, needs to still follow all MLA formatting. If you need to use a template, by all means, use a template, but MLA formatting standards are all listed in your book, and they're also available through OWL Purdue online. You can search out MLA basic guidelines, Times New Roman 12-point font, 1-inch margins, no after spacing, those things. 2 new rules for this in the drafting stage. Move away from second person in total. Get rid of any you, your, you are present in your writing. And also start getting rid of contractions. I won't mark these down for points or anything. We do want to make sure in 1510 and 1520 we get away from contractions as much as we can. They do not all have standard translation. It can be problematic for certain writing forms and things. So better to get used to getting rid of them than not at this stage. The rhetorical analysis during the next piece, I will start marking down for both. Right now, I will start marking off on second person usage. Essentially, in no academic or professional writing format, unless it's something quite unique, there is no use of second person. So the introductory overview, using examples from layout from the summary outline. Again, it gives the breakdown in a couple of scenarios that you could use for that people could consider as examples for this type of a potential topic for these memoirs. And then there's a breakdown here with some of the basics on the what is required with each one of the paragraphs again. And then down below, it gives a framing of these different categories again in answering how some of these things in the scenario presented above would play out from scenario B. And then, of course, you have the student sample with labeling to keep you on track of what is expected in the content, the different parameters of the assignment itself. So memoirs are pretty straightforward. You're telling that first-person story about yourself. It is about one problem that you found yourself in that you had to get out of. There has to be a resolution to it, right? And that problem is supposed to be, must be the last statement made in body 1. Remember, your intro paragraph introduces your story, gives a lead-in thesis statement that suggests the problem, doesn't tell it. Then body 1 tells the story and gives the actual problem at the end of body 1 to where this is where things go off the rails and now we have to get back on them. Okay? So those are the basics for week 3. I look forward to seeing those. Give me another couple days here. I'm posting the rest of those grades. I have just over half of the students, everything posted from week 1 into week 2. FERPA forms, diagnostic, essay, academic honesty forms, and now I am going over those summary outlines for memoirs. And as I said, trying to by Thursday have most of those posted up with some feedback, at least the grade, and some brief commentary about whether or not you need to adjust anything in there. Remember that if you didn't complete this and don't have those things, there's not much I can offer besides just the points of what you would have grade-wise, okay? I look forward to seeing them. So far, 90% or more are really engaged in doing well, so keep up the good work, folks. And don't forget about your readings.